I watched her retreat to the guest room that night, her soft footsteps echoing down the hallway like a lullaby. The candlelight still flickered gently, dancing shadows on the walls, but the room suddenly felt colder in her absence. My fingertips still buzzed from that accidental touch, brief, innocent, yet soaked in something far more dangerous. Sleep didn't come easy. I lay there in darkness, listening to the thunder outside and the storm inside my chest. Every breath I took felt heavier. I could still hear the softness of her voice when she'd said, "Assalamu alaikum," that first day. I didn't know then that it would become the most haunting greeting I'd ever receive. Morning came shrouded in guilt. I rose early, dressed for work, and tried avoiding the mirror. Even my own reflection felt like judgment. When I stepped into the kitchen, Amira was already there, quiet, composed, every strand of hair hidden beneath her hijab like nothing had ever happened. But something had. "Good morning," she said, without meeting my eyes. "Morning," I replied, reaching for the coffee pot. Hannah burst into the room seconds later, arms stretched for a hug. I scooped her up, grateful for the innocence that buffered the tension. Amira watched silently, smiling faintly as Hannah recited a short Arabic poem she'd taught her. Even during breakfast, we both avoided eye contact. I headed to work soon after, yet my mind stayed behind. Every minute away from home stretched endlessly, every report I read sounded like static. I kept remembering her, how her eyes had searched mine during that candlelit silence, how her fingers hadn't pulled away when they brushed against mine. By the time I returned home, I expected everything to have normalized, or at least hardened into silence. But the energy in the house felt different. Amira was in the backyard, helping Hannah water potted herbs. The late afternoon sun cast a glow across her face. She looked ethereal, distant, almost unreachable. I stood at the doorway, just watching. That night, after Hannah had gone to bed and the house had quieted down, I found Amira sitting alone in the living room. She was reading something, an Islamic book I couldn't name, but her eyes weren't moving across the page. "I'm sorry about yesterday," I said quietly. She closed the book, setting it on the table beside her. "I should be the one apologizing. You didn't do anything wrong." "I let something start," she said, finally looking at me. "That has no place here. You have a daughter. I have a promise to someone far away. And yet—" her voice trailed off. "And yet—" her throat moved as she swallowed. "I can't stop thinking about what I felt last night. I haven't felt anything like that since— ever." I took a seat across from her, not too close, but not far enough to hide the ache building inside me. "I divorced because my wife stopped looking at me like I mattered," I said. "It didn't happen suddenly. It was slow, gradual. I didn't realize how numb I'd become until I looked at you across that table last night, and I finally felt something again." Amira turned her gaze downward. "That scares me. It scares me too." Silence stretched between us, thick, weighted. Outside, wind rustled through trees. Somewhere nearby, a neighbor's cat meowed softly. "I need to pray," she whispered, standing suddenly. "I need to remind myself who I am." I nodded, understanding the meaning behind her retreat. The next day brought more awkwardness, but also more craving. I began noticing how she walked, elegant, graceful, unaware of her magnetism. I noticed the way she tucked loose strands beneath her scarf, how her hands always moved gently around Hannah. But most of all, I noticed how often she looked at me when she thought I wasn't looking. One evening, while preparing dinner, I came up behind her. The scent of saffron and cumin filled the air. She turned slightly, startled. "I just wanted to say thank you," I said, "for everything you do for Hannah." Her lips parted slightly. "It's my job." "No. It's more than that. You care about her. And I see it. I see everything." Her expression softened. She didn't step back. "I told myself I wouldn't let this happen," she said. "When I took this job, I made a promise to my mother, to my fiancé, to God." I gently took the wooden spoon from her hand and placed it on the counter. "What if I asked you to break it?" Her breath caught. "Why would you want that?" "Because I haven't wanted anyone in years. And I want you." We stood there, inches apart, heat rising, not just from the stove. She trembled. Her eyes searched mine again, just like they had during the storm. "But if we cross this line," she whispered, "we can't go back." "Then don't cross it," I said, my voice low. "Let me." And I did. I closed the space between us slowly, deliberately. Our lips met, and every restraint I had melted into nothingness. She responded with a moan so soft it made my knees weak. The world disappeared. No religion. No rules. Just her breath, my hands, and the chaos of want. We moved to the couch like two people possessed by every desire we'd buried. She gasped when my lips touched her neck, her scarf slipping loose. I paused, uncertain. "It's okay," she said, eyes clouded. "Don't stop." I didn't. Her body felt like fire beneath mine. Smooth, warm, trembling. Her hands gripped my shoulders, nails digging in as she tried holding herself together. Our kisses deepened, turned frantic. But then, she stopped. Her palms pushed against my chest. Her breath was ragged, eyes filled with tears. "I can't." I sat back, guilt instantly flooding every vein. "I'm sorry," I murmured. She shook her head, fixing her hijab slowly, not making eye contact. "No. I should have stopped you earlier. But I didn't want to." I leaned forward. "You don't have to explain." "I do," she interrupted. "Because what we just did, it changed something. I don't know what happens next, but I know I'm not who I was yesterday." She stood and left the room again. This time, I didn't follow. The next morning felt like the world had spun just slightly off its axis. I couldn't look at her without remembering the warmth of her lips, the softness of her sighs, the sacredness we'd broken. Amira moved around the house like a ghost with flesh, present but distant. She avoided meeting my eyes. I didn't blame her. I drove Hannah to school that day, needing the air, needing distance. The silence in the car was filled with my heartbeat thudding behind my ribs. Even Hannah noticed. "Daddy, are you sad today?" she asked sweetly, swinging her feet from the booster seat. I smiled, though it didn't reach my eyes. "Just tired, baby." But it was more than fatigue. It was a collision of guilt and lust, a storm of want and reverence crashing together in ways that didn't belong. She was a devout woman, committed to faith and boundaries, and I touched her in ways forbidden even in dreams. When I returned home, Amira was in the living room, folding laundry. The sunlight poured across her lap, glowing over the white linen she folded with trembling fingers. "I didn't think you'd come back so soon," she said softly, not looking up. "I needed to." She paused, then resumed folding. "It was a mistake." I nodded. "I know. But why doesn't it feel like one?" That made me move. I crossed the room, sat on the edge of the couch, close enough to feel her presence. "I can't stop thinking about you," I whispered. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Instead, she held a white t-shirt against her chest and closed her eyes. "You make me forget who I'm supposed to be." "You make me remember who I used to be," I said. The room fell into a deep silence, filled only by the tick of the wall clock and the quiet hum of the ceiling fan. Time moved like molasses, slow and thick, wrapping around us. "I used to believe love came in neat packages," she finally said. "Halal, structured, arranged. But then I came here. I started dreaming about a man who wasn't my betrothed." I reached out, touched her hand gently. She didn't pull away this time. "Tell me about him," I said, trying to understand the bond she claimed to have overseas. She swallowed. "His name's Faisal. My mother chose him. He's kind, smart, generous. But we've never touched. Never kissed. Never whispered anything like what you said to me last night." "And do you love him?" Her silence was an answer. That evening, after dinner, we sat on the patio with Hannah playing in the yard. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in bruised purples and golds. Amira sipped tea slowly, her hands wrapped around the cup like it grounded her. "I feel like I'm standing at the edge of two worlds," she said. "One where I obey, where I'm the daughter they raised me to be, and another where I feel alive, sinful, free." "I never wanted to pull you into something painful," I told her. "But I won't lie, I don't regret touching you. I regret how it happened, how it hurts you. But I don't regret feeling it." She looked over at me, her eyes shining. It hurts because it means something. Then came the night that broke everything. Hannah was sleeping, tucked under a pink blanket with a stuffed camel beside her cheek. I passed Amira in the hallway. She wore a navy abaya, her hair loosely braided down her back, scarf off for the night. Her eyes found mine for a heartbeat, and that was all it took. We didn't speak. I reached for her wrist and guided her into my room, closing the door behind us. The moonlight cast a soft blue glow through the window, highlighting the curves of her face, the rise and fall of her chest. Neither of us stopped this time. Her abaya slipped from her shoulders like a surrender, pooling silently on the floor. She stood in a modest satin slip, her body trembling. I touched her face, traced the curve of her jaw, the outline of her lips. She kissed me first this time. We moved slowly, as if the air itself was sacred. Every kiss felt like confession. Every breath she gave me felt like forgiveness. My hand slid across her waist, her back, learning her in ways no man had ever been allowed. When I lifted her gently onto the bed, she didn't resist. Her eyes locked on mine, wide, vulnerable. "I want to remember this," she whispered. "Even if it damns me." I leaned in and pressed my forehead to hers. "Then we'll be damned together." The night unfolded in sighs and murmurs, sweat and whispered prayers turned pleas. I kissed each word from her mouth, unwrapped her faith with trembling hands. We didn't speak of futures or consequences. Only the moment existed. That stolen slice of forbidden rapture. Afterward, we lay tangled in sheets, her head on my chest. Her fingers traced lazy patterns over my ribs, and neither of us said what we both knew: this couldn't last. "I'll have to leave," she said, voice heavy. "Eventually. I know. But right now, let me pretend." So I held her, and we both pretended. The following days were quieter. We didn't repeat what happened, not physically, but emotionally. We were a mess. Every glance held secrets. Every smile came layered with sadness. One afternoon, I caught her crying in the kitchen. Her scarf was off, her cheeks wet, the Quran open beside her. "I'm not this kind of woman," she whispered when I approached. "I've dishonored everything I've stood for." I didn't know what to say. Apologies felt useless. So I just stood behind her, silent, ashamed, yet still aching for her. She turned, wrapped her arms around me, and sobbed into my chest. "I don't want to go back to Faisal," she said. "But I can't stay here, either." "Then stay until you have to decide." "I already did," she whispered. "I just haven't told you." I pulled back. "What do you mean?" She took a shaky breath. "I called my mother. I told her I wasn't marrying him. I told her I couldn't." My chest tightened. "What did she say?" She cried. Then she hung up. A pause settled between us. "And what does that mean for us?" I asked. Her eyes filled with something unreadable. Hope, dread, maybe both. "It means I need time. And maybe, it means I want more." "But more of what? Love born in sin? Lust cloaked in longing?" We didn't know. We only knew the fire had already burned down the walls we thought would protect us. Now, we stood in ash, fingers still interlaced. A week passed. Each day carved deeper into us than the one before. The air between Amira and me no longer buzzed with just tension, it pulsed with something heavier. Something magnetic. We'd moved past that invisible threshold. We were no longer just a man and his child's nanny. We were two souls tethered together by shared sins, private moments, and unspoken promises we didn't dare define. And yet, nothing had been said aloud since that night. She busied herself with Hannah's schedule, homeschooling, Arabic lessons, preparing halal meals with an elegance I'd come to recognize as her armor. I watched her constantly, how she'd kneel beside my daughter to help her with coloring books, how she'd hum old Egyptian lullabies under her breath, unaware I was listening. But it was in the quiet hours of the evening, when Hannah was asleep and the world slowed, that the weight of it all pressed hardest. I'd lie awake with the memory of her skin still burning into my palms, wondering if I had truly ruined something beautiful, or birthed it. One night, the silence cracked. Amira stood at the doorway of my room, her scarf draped loosely over her head, one hand clutching the frame as if the act of standing upright demanded everything in her. "I had a dream," she said softly. I sat up. What about? I was in a mosque. But I was barefoot. Everyone else had prayer mats, and I had nothing. I kept trying to find mine, but every time I got close, it turned to ash. Her voice trembled. I moved to her, took her hand. What do you think it means? Her eyes filled. That I've lost who I am. I pulled her gently inside. Closed the door. You haven't lost anything, I told her. You've changed. That doesn't mean you're broken. I betrayed everything I believed in. And yet, you're here, talking to me, still searching for peace. That's not betrayal. That's struggle. That's real. She pressed her forehead to my chest. I'm scared of what I've become. I cupped her face and lifted her chin until her eyes met mine. You've become someone I can't stop thinking about. Her lips trembled. I want to be good. But I also want you. And those two things, they don't belong in the same sentence. I kissed her then. Gently. Slowly. Not because of desire, but because she needed to know she was still seen, still human, still whole. She kissed back, fiercely, almost desperately. Her hands tangled in my shirt, breath hot against my cheek. We didn't move toward the bed this time. We just stayed standing, clutching each other like lifelines. Afterward, we sat on the floor, backs against the wall. She rested her head on my shoulder, fingers tracing the lines of my hand. I told my mother I wasn't coming back, she finally whispered. I turned to her. You did. She nodded. I said I needed space. Time. I said I met someone. A pause. She asked if he was Muslim. I didn't answer. I didn't know what to say. I was the reason she'd fallen out of line with her beliefs. And yet I couldn't find the shame inside me that I knew should have been there. I don't want you to lose your world because of me, I said. But I already did, she replied. And now? I'm trying to build a new one. Maybe with you. Maybe just for myself. The next few days blurred together. We didn't touch again, not physically, but emotionally. We continued orbiting each other with dangerous intimacy. Her presence in the house became both comfort and torment. And then, her past came knocking. I was in the garage fixing Hannah's bike when the front doorbell rang. I wiped my hands with a towel and opened the door. Standing there was a man in a navy thobe and dark sunglasses. His posture screamed control. His expression, blank, but stern. I'm looking for Amira, he said in an accent I couldn't quite place. Gulf maybe, educated. I hesitated. Who are you? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Faisal. My stomach dropped. She hadn't told me he was coming. I called her name. She came down the hallway, froze mid-step when she saw him. Faisal. Surprise, he said calmly. Your mother said you needed space. So I came to give it. Closer. Her eyes flicked to me. She didn't move. Can we talk? He asked her, completely ignoring my presence. She nodded numbly. In the backyard. I watched them walk outside, heartsick. From the window, I saw them sit at the patio table. He leaned in, hands folded, speaking in hushed tones. She nodded, shook her head, cried. He placed a hand on hers. She pulled away. It felt like watching someone die. She came back in almost an hour later, pale, shaking. I didn't know he'd come, she said. What did he want? To fix what's broken. And do you? She looked at me, long, searching. Then answered, no. Relief and guilt clashed inside me. But he's staying in town for a week, she added. And I owe him honesty. So I told him about you. I froze. You what? I said I'd fallen for someone else. My mouth went dry. What did he say? He asked if you were Muslim. I told him no. He laughed. Said I'd chosen hell twice. The words cut. I didn't flinch, but inside, I bled. What do you want now? I asked. She stepped closer. I want to stop hiding. I want to live without feeling like I'm drowning in shame. And I want you. If you still want me. I stepped forward, closed the gap, took her face in my hands. I've never stopped. Her lips parted. A tear slipped down her cheek. I kissed it away. That night, she didn't return to the guest room. She slipped beneath my sheets and curled against me like she belonged. We didn't make love. We just held each other. I whispered, "We'll find peace. Somehow." And for the first time since she arrived, I believed it. The morning sunlight spilled across the sheets like golden forgiveness. Amira's breath rose and fell softly against my chest, her arm curled possessively around my waist. For a long time, I didn't move. I just stared at the ceiling and listened to her breathing, the rhythm of someone who had finally stopped running. It was the first morning in weeks that didn't feel stolen, the first moment that didn't feel like trespassing through someone else's world. She stirred, blinked up at me, then smiled, a quiet, tired, real smile. "Good morning," she whispered. "Best one yet," I said, kissing her forehead. We didn't need to say much. Everything had already been said in whispers, in touches, in the ache we'd both carried. Words couldn't hold what we were anymore. They'd only spill and cheapen the truth. Later that day, I found her in the kitchen, barefoot, hair loosely braided, humming again, only this time, the tune wasn't sad. It was light. Hopeful. She looked over her shoulder and smiled when she saw me, flour on her fingers, sleeves rolled to her elbows. "What are you making?" "Basbousa," she said. "Hannah asked for something sweet." "You're her favorite person," I said, walking to her. She smirked. "She's mine too." "And her father." She paused, brushing flour across my nose playfully. "He's growing on me." I wrapped my arms around her from behind, burying my face into her shoulder. "Amira." "Yes. I want this. Not just the kisses. Not just the nights. I want mornings. I want you cooking, me failing at dishes. I want to mess up parenting and figure it out together. I want us." She went still in my arms. Then, she turned, slowly, and searched my face like she was reading a language she never thought she'd understand. "I thought you'd never say it," she whispered. "I was waiting for you to be ready." "I am." That evening, we sat outside again, but this time, there were no unspoken words. Just me, her, and Hannah drawing with chalk on the driveway. She sketched crooked flowers. Amira added Arabic calligraphy around them, smiling when Hannah asked what each word meant. When the little one ran off chasing a butterfly, Amira leaned close. "I talked to Faisal again." My chest tightened. "He's leaving tomorrow." I nodded. "Is he okay?" "No," she admitted. "But he accepted it. Said I was brave for telling the truth. Said I deserved to choose." "And you're choosing this?" I asked quietly, gesturing between us. She nodded, her eyes soft but resolute. "I already did. I'm not afraid anymore." That night, we celebrated in the simplest way. No wine, no music, no party. Just candles, a homemade dinner, and 3 mismatched plates. Amira wore a white dress that reached her ankles. I couldn't stop staring at her. Every gesture, every word she spoke, felt like a declaration of freedom. After dinner, once Hannah was asleep, I took her hand and led her to the living room. The lights dimmed. The fan hummed softly. I got down on one knee. She blinked. "What are you doing?" "I know what we did wasn't perfect. I know it was messy, forbidden, and hard. But I also know I've never wanted anyone the way I want you. Not just now, not just tonight, but always." I pulled out a ring I'd bought the day after she told Faisal goodbye. "You changed my life. You walked into it like a prayer I didn't know I'd made. And I don't want a life that doesn't have you in it." Her hands covered her mouth. Her eyes shimmered. "Marry me, Amira." She dropped to her knees in front of me, pulled me into a kiss that tasted like forgiveness and tears and laughter all at once. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes." We married quietly 3 months later. No mosque, no huge ceremony. Just close friends, my daughter, and vows that meant more because we'd earned them the hard way. Amira wore ivory. Hannah tossed petals down the aisle. And I, a man who had once thought love was something neat and orderly, stood at the altar watching this brave, beautiful woman walk toward me, scars and all, and realized I hadn't lost anything. I'd found everything. Love. Family. redemption. And her. Always her.